It's a Wednesday night on Mark Rogers TV. That means we're talking Ohio State football with Brandon Zimmerman from the Buckeye Battle Cry. Last week, Brandon closed out the spring by giving us his two deep on offense, and we kind of reviewed that, and now we're going to talk some defense, Brandon.
Yeah, so the defense is definitely going to have to step up pretty big this year. Lost so much talent, so much leadership from last year's team. The guys like Raekwon McMillan and Hooker and Lattimore and Conley, they were, kind of the strength of that defense last year. So a bunch of young guys need to step up. This year, strength is without a doubt going to be the defensive line. The defensive ends go 6 deep. The defensive tackles go 4 or 5 deep. So that's where it's really going to carry the Buckeyes, especially early on against guys like Mayfield in week 2, to let that secondary kind of ease into things. Because, they've lost, 6 first-rounders in the past 2 years, possibly. So the defensive line is really going to have to do it. So at defensive end, the 2 starters will be just like last year, where it's Sam Hubbard and Tyquan Lewis. Starters 1A with them will be Jalyn Holmes and Nick Bosa, who all would start on almost every other team. So all those guys will be rotating in and out, but the 2 deep won't change from what it was last year. Big thing there would be interesting to see how Nick Bosa makes that jump. Everyone talks about how he's further along than his brother Joey was as a sophomore. So I think this year that Bosa kind of explodes onto the scene. As we talked about a few weeks ago, the defensive ends really need to make that leap where they were good last year. This year, they need to be dominant, more sacks, more tackles for loss, which was kind of not there last year. There was a lot of pressure from the ends, but they just weren't making the plays that everyone kind of expected them to. At defensive tackle, I think your 2 starters are going to be Dre'Mont Jones and Tracy Sprinkle. Sprinkle started last year, got hurt, I think week 2 or 3. Dre'Mont Jones stepped in for him and kind of excelled. Urban Meyer had nothing but praise for Dre'Mont Jones this spring. Really thinks that he's making that leap into being a elite defensive tackle. So I think it'll be Jones and Tracy Sprinkle out there backing them up. I think Robert Landers has one of the backup jobs. He'll probably back up Tracy Sprinkle. He showed a lot of promise last year at times. He's a bigger guy. And backing up Dre'Mont Jones, I think Jashawn Cornell is going to come on. Looked kind of good in spring. He was playing a little defensive end, a little defensive tackle, former 5-star defensive end. So I think Cornell will jump into that backup role right behind Dre'Mont Jones.